Good morning, namaste to all. So what I want to talk about today is in the Tai Chi teaching video last time I looked at the basic stance and then the side to side stance, and those are the only two stances you need if you're doing the shortened Tai Chi set, which is just the first 5 moves and balancing the Chi. But to progress through all the rest of the 18 moves of the Shibashi set, you need to master, or at least understand, because it can take a lifetime to master them, 2 other aspects. The first one is turning from the waist, and the second is the 3 moves where we're in the what's called the forward and back stance. So I'll look at turning from the waist first. If you are standing and turning from the waist, so if you're going to, copy along with this, make sure you're standing in the good stance, so feet are hip width apart, feet parallel, soft knees, etc., and a nice straight back. Turning from the waist really needs you to have your core and abdominal muscles engaged. And turning from the waist means literally your hips, knees and toes don't move. It is just the top half of your body. And if you're not used to doing it, if you've got your core abdominal muscles engaged, you're going to feel it there. And if you're not used to doing it, it's only going to be a small move. That's fine. So just focus on keeping the bottom half of you firmly rooted and just moving that top half of you. Now I'm demonstrating these both standing and seated, and you know what? This is one move where turning from the waist is dead easy, because if you're sitting down, all you've got to do is make sure that your bottom does not move on the seat. It's actually easier to turn from the waist when you're seated, especially if you're on a stool like me, than if you're standing, because the contact between your body and whatever you're sitting on keeps that bottom bit of you still, and you just literally turn the top half of you. Now there's an exercise that you can do, and you can do this seated or standing. You let your arms hang loose. Turn from the waist and just let your arms swing. Now, please note, this is not a case of you are swinging your arms and your body is following. Your arms need to be long, loose and light. And as you turn, your arms naturally start to swing because they're responding to the movement of the upper part of your body. Now, turning from the waist is probably one of the harder things that you do in Shibashi qigong, because it uses your core abdominal muscles, and actually we've all got out of the habit of using our core and abdominal muscles. What are the benefits? I mean, if the first time you try this, you're going to think, oh God, those muscles ache. Well, that's no bad thing, but remember the mantra, nothing you do should cause you pain or discomfort. So what is the upside of actually learning to engage those core abdominal muscles? The whole point of qigong is for everything to flow from those muscles. When you're moving your arms about, it shouldn't be your shoulders doing anything. It should be coming from those core abdominal muscles. That means that you protect your shoulders, you certainly protect your knees and ankles, but above all, strong core muscles protect your back. Now, the majority of us will at times have had back problems. I know I have. I've actually had back surgery a long time ago. But it's a case of, okay, to start off with, you're not going to be able to engage them very well. And any movement from the waist is going to be terribly small. But you know what? That's okay. The more you practice it, the better you will get. And the second stance I want to go over today is the forward and back stance. So I'm going to turn sideways. Basically, your feet are still a hip width apart. I'm going to lower the camera so you've got a slightly better view of what my legs are doing. Hang on. That isn't that much better. We'll go back to up there. So I'll move as far away as I can. That's better. So you have 1 foot forward and you're taking a step as large as you can without overbalancing. And to start off with, you still want your weight to be evenly distributed on both feet. In other words, your feet may no longer be side by side, but your weight, your centre of gravity, is coming straight down in the middle of your feet. So, if you are standing, these 3 moves are done all the time with your back straight. You are not, if you are standing, bending forward like that. What you're doing is you're transferring your weight forward onto the front knee, almost as if you're about to get down on one knee and do a curtsy, or you are transferring your weight onto the back knee and pretending that you're trying to hitch your BTM onto a high bar stool. If you are standing, your back stays straight. And so the movement comes from the transferring of the weight forward and back. I'll just do that sideways on. So as you breathe out, your weight goes forward, back stays straight. As you breathe in, your weight goes back again, back stays straight, spine stays straight. How can you mimic that if you're seated? Well, remember what I said about spine stays straight, because that is still true if you're doing this seated. So, if you're seated, remember the basic seated posture is feet flat on the floor, a hip width apart. So you can still put 1 foot in front of the other. But obviously, because you're seated and your weight is naturally in the middle, you cannot transfer your weight forward and back. But keeping your spine straight, you can hinge forward from your hips. So as you breathe out, nice straight spine, you go down, and on the in-breath, you just straighten your back up. Now, I'm going to demonstrate with the first move of the water moves, what that means in practice. So, because in many ways, demonstrating it seated demonstrates better some of the principles that you need to be using if you're standing. So you're in the forward and back stance. As you breathe out and hinge forward, your hands naturally go down and they go forward. And then as you breathe in and straighten your back up, you don't do anything with your hands, you just let them rise. Your shoulders shouldn't be doing anything. So repeat that. Breathe out, hands naturally go down. Breathe in, straighten your back, and just let your hands rise. You're not doing anything with your shoulders. How does that work if you're standing? Well, it's a little more complicated, but as you breathe out, your weight goes forward, your hands goes forward. And then with the in-breath, as your weight goes back, because you've got nice, long, loose, light arms and core muscles engaged, as you breathe in, just allow the breath to send your arms up. So whether you're seated or standing, your shoulders shouldn't really be doing anything. It should be coming from the core abdominal muscles and the way that other muscles move as you breathe in. Hello, people who are watching. So, these two stances, I'm going to sit down. These two stances are actually, I'll move really close, the last two basic stances that you need to go through the full Shibashi Qigong set. So you've got the basic stance, side by side. Then you've got the side to side, where you're transferring your weight, again, while keeping your back straight. Transfer your weight first to one side and then to the other. And then today we've gone over the turning from the waist, where everything, the movement of your upper body is what allows your arms to move. Again, your shoulders should not be doing an awful lot. And then finally the forward and back, where again, if you're standing, your back is straight, your spine is straight, and it's the transfer of weight onto the front foot and then onto the back foot that generates the movement of your body. And that does emphasize something very core, which is, I know when you watch Tai Chi, when you go along with my videos, my arms are waving around and I seem to be doing a lot with my shoulders, and I'll be honest, I am. But that's because I have not spent years on a mountain in Tibet practicing this. I'm still practicing, but I know what I'm aiming for. And with these videos, I'm hoping I'm giving you a little more understanding so you know what you're aiming for. And it is that most of the movement comes from the core abdominal muscles. And because of the strong core abdominal muscles, you can shift your weight around without bending over. So in the side to side move, there's a temptation to lean over to one side. Shouldn't. Nice straight back. But if you've got strong abdominal muscles, that's a lot easier to do. Same thing with the forward and back moves. If you've got strong core muscles, it's much easier to keep your weight, to transfer your weight without bending your back. Remember, one other name for, qigong literally means energy work. But there is a strong link in Chinese language between energy and breath, and it can be called breath work. So what you do with your breath is as important as anything you do with where you're putting the weight of your body. And in a way, the movement of your arms is almost secondary, but not completely secondary. What you do with your arms helps the energy flow. And next video, what I will be doing is covering things I've talked about, like empty arms, what that means, and also these things, hand positions, because the position you have your hand in influences how the energy is going to flow along your arms. And there are some times where you will want your hand like that, and other times where you'll want your hand like that. And if you're thinking, oh God, yet more to remember, no, actually, if you are aware of what the move is about and are keeping your arms nice and empty, trying to make the move come from your body, actually, your hands naturally do what they need to do to help the energy flow. So this is quite a short stream today. Partly accidental, but it's also partly serendipity, because there has been an awful lot going on away from Facebook and away from all this in the real world for me. And I'm actually a little bit tired, so I'm very glad that today that this video can be quite short. And that's where I'm going to end it. If you've got any questions about qigong, feel free to ask me. If you want to contact me about any of my other techniques, that's mindfulness, a little bit of hypnotherapy, or even interested in a reading, DM me. I'm very happy to arrange video consultations one-to-one for a small donation of what you can afford. Minimum donation of £1 though. Okay, take care of yourselves, and I will hope to see you next week. Namaste.